Hey, what's up fellow warriors of light, my name is Fox and welcome to another video. In today's video I'm going to teach you step by step on how to turn something that looks something like this into something clean like this. This is called foldable hotbars basically. There's only some macro magic behind it and it is actually quite easy. While it might look a little bit complicated, but fear not, I got you covered and we're going to go over everything you need to know to make this happen. So the first thing we're going to do is to open our HUD-Layout menu. This is important because we want to actually choose a hotbar that we're going to use for all of this magic basically. Also write down the number of the hotbar, that's going to come in very handy later on. And then also remember that you can change the layout of this hotbar from a line into a square or a double line, whatever you want it to look like, but more on that later on because it will be your finishing touch for all of your layout. As you can clearly see here, I'm able to drag this skill from my main hotbar onto one of the new hotbars that I chose. The next thing we're going to do is very important. In the character configuration setting under hotbar settings and sharing, you will then untick all the bars that you need per job. So basically, if you have 4 hotbars that you have on a job, you leave them unticked. All the rest should be ticked because that means they are shared in between all the jobs and they will not change if you swap your class. Most importantly here, make sure that the number you wrote down earlier is one of the ticked boxes. The next thing is, of course, as everything kinda very important, you now have to swap to a class or job that you barely use. Now, I personally suggest here to use a base class. For example, we all know the warrior job, but before the warrior there was the marauder. The thing is, you should never actually be on marauder once you've unlocked the warrior, which means that the hotbars that belong to the marauder are basically free hotbars that you will never ever use, which is what I'm doing in this example. Then I proceed to remove all the skills that the game attributed to the hotbar from those hotbars so that I have 3 completely empty hotbars available to me. Afterwards, I proceed to open the emote menu, which is an example of a hotbar that some of you might have with emotes on them, and put them on the marauder hotbar. Here, in this example, I am putting 5 on the first hotbar of the marauder. I then proceed to again open up the HUD-Layout menu to write down the number of the hotbar that I just put the emotes on. Everything is now set up to create our first macro to make something happen. So we open the macro menu, we choose a random tile of course, and we start entering /hotbar copy MRD for marauder in this case, 1 share 7. This basically tells the game to copy the first hotbar of the marauder to our shared number 7 hotbar. As you can see now, upon execution of this macro, suddenly the 5 emotes I put on the marauder 1 hotbar are appearing in the middle of my screen where my hotbar 7 was already placed beforehand. To now also make it kind of foldable, we have to add another small command to it, which is simply the hotbar display 7. Now upon executing the macro, the hotbar will appear or disappear. A small note here is that you don't actually need 3 free bars to actually copy onto, you just need 1. Yet in this example I'm showing you exactly how it works with 3 different bars, but later on we're going to condense them into 1. So while you're then still in your macro layout, you will then continue to copy the next hotbar. For example, here it would be hotbar display number 9 because the other hotbar I chose was hotbar number 9, and then we tell the macro to also copy our second hotbar from our marauder job onto this 9th hotbar, basically with the command hotbar copy marauder to share 9. And we can repeat this with the last hotbar also, in which case we just replace again the numbers with hotbar display 10 and hotbar copy marauder 3 share 10. As you can see now, I created 3 hotbars that are identical to the ones that I have on my marauder hotbars. Upon clicking the macro, of course the hotbars will appear or disappear because of the hotbar display command. Now of course we don't want our macro buttons to all look the same because that would make our HUD look very ugly. We want something specific that reminds us what this button actually opens. In this case, of course, this is about the emotes that I put into this hotbar, so here I'm using the mecon command followed by the greeting emote to then have the greet emote as the button that represents this macro. For the other two macros, I just quickly chose two of the emotes they already have available here to just speed up the process of this tutorial. Now that everything is set up properly, you can choose to a different job. Let's get away from Marauder in my case, and we're again going to verify our 3 hotbars that we have chosen for this whole process. Now we need one other hotbar, in my case as you can see hotbar number 5, on which we're going to put the macros of course. So I just checked again here, hotbar number 5, it is also a shared hotbar. This is again very important, the hotbars need to be shared, so make sure to check that box again. Then I'm of course moving my hotbar 5 into a spot on my screen where I would like the macros to be placed, usually somewhere in the upper corners or bottom corners. That is of course your own preference, I'm basically just giving you an example here. Then we're going into our macro menu and we're going to drag the macro onto this hotbar. As you can clearly see, our macros are working perfectly. The moment I click on one of them, a hotbar appears or disappears. And now we're coming to the fun part. In this scenario, which is why I use 3 different hotbars, I'm going to place the hotbars below the buttons, which basically then opens or folds them up and shows you the commands available. This is of course very neat and looks very clean. But of course there's also other ways on how to do this. If you are using 3 different hotbars in this case, you can also just layer them over each other. I wouldn't really suggest that because I have something else to show you afterwards, but it's just an example of how to arrange them to make your whole HUD layout super neat. Now of course if you don't like it at the top, you can do it at the bottom. I'm using a wide screen here, so for me I have them on the side, you can't even see them, but of course I wanted to show you examples. If you ended up deciding that you just want to use one single hotbar, you don't have any more available for example, we just need to change one small thing. We're going back into our macros and we're going to change the hotbar display everywhere to 7. And for the macros where we had in my case number 9, we're also going to change that to 7. So that the game knows it has to display a hotbar number 7 or hide that one, and also of course copy the hotbar from the Marauder onto the hotbar number 7. Now it will display differently, but of course also still very nice. You just need one hotbar for this, no need for 3. You can then choose to put the other 2 somewhere else, use them for something else. I just basically wanted to show you how it is done with 3 different hotbars, but now we condensed it into one single hotbar because maybe you preferred the other way, where they came out right next to the icon for example. And that's already it, that's all there is to it. I know this is some form of magic and I honestly really love this trick. I see many people having full hotbars filled with all of their jobs or classes or gatherers, crafters, whatnot, and this will just allow you to have so much more inventory place for other things, other cool shortcuts like settings. For example, I like to have my background music muted with one single click. You can make a macro for that, like things that are just very handy and just enhance your overall experience of Final Fantasy XIV. If you have any more questions regarding this specific hotbar trick, of course, feel free to ask me in the comments. I'll try my best to answer them. And if you have anything to add, maybe for other people, a trick to share with them, of course, also put them in the comments. And if this video helped you, make sure to leave a like and also subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate that. But as always, thank you so much for watching. And of course, I'm wishing you an amazing rest of your day, wherever you live.